All right, good morning from San Diego. Good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us for this UC San Diego student panel. Today, what we will be covering is we're going to do a quick video on why UC San Diego to give you some information about the institution. And then we're going to go right into our question and answer session with our current UC San Diego students. And then at the end, for those that want to stick around and learn more, we're going to do a brief admissions overview if you'd like to stick around at the end and learn more about the admissions process at UC San Diego. So what we will do now is get started right away. We're going to jump into this video so that you can learn a little bit more about the university. All right, hopefully that video gave you a little bit of an overview of what UC San Diego is like and help spark maybe some questions that you may have for our student panelists today. So right now what we're going to do is jump right into our student panel. And so we're going to do some quick introductions of our students starting on the left side of the screen. So Na, if you'd like to go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Na. I'm a second-year molecular and cell biology student. I'm in Ravel, and maybe, I guess, one of my favorite things at UC San Diego is we always have amazing sunsets that you can see. So yeah, it's been my favorite thing.
Hey everyone, I'm Lauren. I'm also a second year in Sixth College, and I'm an international business major. And my favorite thing about UC San Diego would probably be how close it is to Scripps Beach. Yeah, so always a good time. So.
Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa. I'm a fourth year sociology major. I go with She Her Hers, and my favorite thing about UC San Diego is just the weather is so beautiful every time.
Hi everyone, how's it going? My name's Kevin. I'm a third year chemical engineering major, chemistry minor from Warren College. I'm from Huntington Beach, California, so it's a nice little early morning for me. And I would say I'm with Lauren and Vanessa. I would say the beach is definitely, and the weather is definitely one of my favorite parts about UC San Diego.
Great. Thank you all so much. So for those that have questions, feel free to go ahead and put those in the Q&A box. And what we'll do is we're going to ask those to our student panelists throughout the session today. So please feel free to put any questions that you have in the Q&A. What we're going to start with is you all just mentioned a college. So could you tell us a little bit more about what is the college system? Like, how did you pick which college you're in? Maybe what's your favorite thing about your college? Kevin, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, of course. So the college system at UC San Diego, it's kind of unique to our university. A lot of times we use it kind of in the same way as we describe Hogwarts, right? You know, you have your large school, Hogwarts, right? But within that school, you have these different like subsections, these different communities for you to be part of. And it's kind of for us, it's your way to build a community and feel like you're just not a singular student in such a large population. We have over 30,000 undergrads at UC San Diego, and this college system really allows you to go in, like I said, build that community, find your group of friends, live live with other students in your same college and kind of get access to almost a liberal arts type of college feel while still having all these benefits that such a large research institution like our university provides. So I could kind of say that's the best way to like sum it up in a nutshell. I can let all our other panelists maybe talk about their specific college, and then that's kind of honestly the best way to get a feel for it. They all differ basically with philosophy, where they are on campus, and their general education sequence, and all of them are different in that regard. But I do want to say no one college is better than the next. We're all going to say our college is the best, but just know that it's kind of, they're all on that equal playing field, even though Warren's the best, but it's okay.
Well, I
Yeah, I
think,
like, oh,
go
go
ahead,
ahead, go
Lauren.
ahead.
Okay. Well, I think Kevin put it perfectly, explaining how the college system works. I can talk a bit about my own college, ERC, or Eleanor Roosevelt College. Everyone complains that it's like a lot of GEs, which is our general education, the college requirements for you to graduate. So everyone complains that ERC has a lot of GEs, but for me, it works perfectly because I love history and I love social science, hence I'm a sociology major. And also I'm in student council of ERC, and I can see that the students are really trying to make change and trying to make an impact on campus. And this is a very tight-knit community within your college. So I love that feel. I never felt alone especially during my first 2 years at UC San Diego, because I can just like hop in and out of like my apartment. I can see my friends in like nearby apartments. So it's really nice.
Yeah, like I think Kevin and Vanessa did a great job covering like how the colleges are. I'm personally in sixth college. We just got a new dorm, yay. But I just want to add that I feel like the community aspect within your college, I feel like it's such a thing to bond over. Like you meet people all over campus and you're like, what college are you? And you meet someone who's like in your college and you like feel extra close to them already. And yeah, I think it's just like a great way for everyone to like, you know, talk about like the differences in the college and the similarities and really get to know each other better and make UCSD feel like a home in like a smaller place.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that's been said. I love the community that exists within each college. I'm personally also very involved with Revel. We're actually going to have like a meeting in 2 hours about kind of restructuring the student orgs within Revel. And I was part of two different orgs under Revel, and we're going in forward with that. And I really feel a sense of community, and I just love seeing people in Revel and saying hi, and just like when walking to like fill my water bottle, like I'll see like familiar faces, and it's just great. Yeah.
Thank you all so much for sharing a little information about the colleges. I know that often that can be a confusing part of UC San Diego for a student as they're being introduced to the university. So it's really helpful to hear from current students across different colleges, kind of what your student experience has been. So the next question, something fun. What is your favorite tradition at UC San Diego? Favorite campus tradition? Anyone can kick us off if you have one that comes to the top of your mind.
I have one. Every finals week, which is like week 11, where like we all have our finals. It's the environment is kind of stressful, because everyone's studying. So we would have like a crispy scream. So everyone would gather around the central area of your college and at midnight, and you just scream your hearts out. And it's very fun. It's a very good stress relief method. And we get crispy cream donuts afterwards. So like, I mean, it's a win-win situation for everyone. So yeah.
Yeah, I have another little unofficial tradition. I like to think it's official, but if anyone knows what Sun God is, it's a statue that we have on campus. It's kind of like our little unofficial mascot. Of course, we're the Tritons, but we like to say Sun God is our unofficial mascot. it brings us good weather. We have a concert named after him. And there's also this other kind of tradition that sometimes we do. And basically, sun god's a statue, and it's on top of an arch that kind of looks like the backbone of an A. I know it's a little hard to see, so I'll kind of describe it. But anyways, one tradition we have is that if you close your eyes, hold your arms out, and walk backwards under sun god, almost like you're completing that A, it's said that you're supposed to be given good grades for the rest of the quarter. So I like to think that works. But as a corollary, you do still have to study. So there's that. But that's another little fun tradition that some of our students will do. You see somebody just walking backwards under sun god. It's like you just already know what they're doing. So that's kind of fun.
Those were both great. Thank you. So what's the campus life like at UC San Diego? Like, how can someone get involved in something? I know earlier some of you mentioned being involved in your colleges. How do people find opportunities like that? And then what's it like to get involved in campus? Lauren, I know that you were involved.
Yeah, so I'm actually a part of Associated Students concerts and events, and I just got accepted again, so like I'll be the festival's coordinator my first year and for the following year. And I personally got involved because at the beginning of the year, I know this year might be a little different because everything's virtual, but there was a club fair, and all the organizations and clubs and activities on campus like all had a booth or like somewhere you could find out how to get involved with them. And walking around there was really like good to find a lot of opportunities. Like some of my friends joined sororities at the time, and some of my friends like did ACE with me, AS concerts and events. And yeah, even if it's virtual, I'm sure that UC San Diego has like really good opportunities for you to get to know like all the different activities that we have on campus and get involved.
Yeah, I found out about like involvement opportunities also through like the library walk. There's always going to be people handing flyers around and like promoting their orgs, and I just learn more about each orgs by just like listening to them. And sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, come to the GBM. They'll have like the GBM or like general body meetings, and they'll have maybe food as an incentive, but then you go there and you find like the org really interesting and you just want to keep going and be part of that, and maybe throw events to promote student involvement on campus as well. Yeah.
And also since it's COVID, you can't necessarily go out to the library walk and receive flyers. You can also like the Facebook pages for your own class. So my class will be class of 2021, and I receive a lot of like invitations to events or like just about and everything and anything. So that's how I found out about Student Council of ERC. That's how I found out about other like internship opportunities as well. So make sure to check your Facebook pages.
Yeah, we pretty much have whatever you're looking for. You saw it in that opening video. There's over, I believe it's 600 student organizations, ranging from cultural ones to professional ones to even social ones. So pretty much if you put yourself out there, you're going to be able to find something that appeals to you. And even if it doesn't, you're more than welcome to create your own student organization. That's not hard to do as well. So it's you really have no end to the opportunities.
Thank you all. And Vanessa just briefly mentioned the impact like COVID-19, how it may have changed what we're doing right now. I was wondering if anyone can talk maybe a little bit about how COVID-19 has impacted your classes that you're taking. How is it different this year than it's been previously? Residential aspects, internship or research opportunities. If anyone has any of those experiences and would be comfortable talking about maybe how COVID-19 has impacted that student experience.
All us in different ways, and it's impacted some people. But I think that UC San Diego did a really good job in trying to support its students during this time. And as we mentioned before, like all of the student organizations and activities you can get involved in all have some sort of online presence now, so it's still available to students. And for me and for a lot of students whose families live internationally, it's impacted me. Like I can't live in the dorms as some of my friends who are from San Diego are right now, but I still am able to attend classes asynchronously, and all my teachers have been super supportive of the fact that I'm not in the same time zone as them, as well as like the activities I'm involved in. So yeah, I think UC San Diego has definitely responded in a way to like support its students and be as helpful as possible during this time.
Yeah, Lauren, I think said it really well. It's your teachers are still there for you. All your professors want to make sure you're getting the same kind of um, help and assistance and guidance you need in your classes as it would be in person. Obviously, we have all our on the health side of things and the administration side of things. We have a return to learn program, early detection. That's all good. But in terms of the academic stuff as well, I think UC San Diego has made it seem as almost it's obviously different. We've all had to become adjusted to it. But in terms of the actual classes, you're still being taught by the same professors. It's still the greatest minds in their field, and they've tried to make it as kind of a smooth transition as possible, um, like Lauren was saying.
And I want to expand on the health aspect of the situation, like Kevin just briefly mentioned. I really like the fact that you see San Diego Health has offered very frequent testing, even for asymptomatic testing. I do my personal tests every month, just because I like to be updated on my status, and it's free as long as you have UC ship. But it's very nice. The result is almost immediately, and everything is very accommodating, and the nurses are very, very accommodating. So that's one thing I really appreciate about UC San Diego response.
Yeah, let me just add like something really quickly more on academic side of things. I'm also in a very different time zone right now. I'm in Thailand, so 14 hours ahead. It's not super easy to take classes at those times, but my professors has made like it really easy to just watch the recordings later, and they don't make discussions mandatory to attend. You can still make up for credits. They don't really make like attendance mandatory at all. And if you are concerned maybe about testing times, definitely reach out to your professors. I reach out to two of my professors, and they are more than happy to set up a different test time for you that is, more convenient for you and would allow you to best do the test. It's just been great with the support. Yeah.
Thank you all so much for sharing your perspectives. We hope for all the prospective students that are on with us today that things will be back in person, by the time any of you would join us at the university. But it's great to be able to hear how the university has responded with our classes and other opportunities for our students. So thinking back to maybe pre-COVID-19 and your student experiences, has anyone had any experiences with study abroad, internships, or research, and what kind of opportunities are out there for students? Yeah, I think Kevin, you've had an experience, right, working with internship or research opportunities?
I actually, I'm in the process of kind of getting involved with research. I kind of know a little bit about it. I've been applying to it. There's a couple ways, and I can share too how like you would get involved with research. It's just I haven't. I'm kind of boring still. I haven't had my own like study abroad or research experiences. I've had lots and lots of friends, roommates that have done that. But I'm sidetracking. To get back to my main research point, there's a couple ways you can go about doing that. So one is like if you make connections with professors, you can just cold call them. You can send out emails, literally just going to office hours, making a connection. They want to get to know you as just as much as you want to get to know them. You're working, again, I said it earlier, with some of the brightest minds in whatever field you decide to go to. Out of our 200 plus majors, they're some of the best. Let me tell you from personal experience. I had for one of my core engineering classes, a professor. I went to his office hours. It's another side tip. Definitely go to office hours. I didn't know they were as beneficial as they are, but he got to know me. He actually knew me by name, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like my professor knows me. That's nice. And then I later found out that he's a researcher in the nano department, and he works with nanoparticles and polymers that help build a more sustainable environment. I was like, oh goodness, like he knows my name. Like that's kind of cool. So that's one way you can go about doing it. We also have different programs back when, like pre-COVID-19, like Lindsay was saying, we had a dine with a prof or coffee with a prof program. Basically, you could kind of take your professor out on a date. Not really. It's just an opportunity for you to get a voucher for free coffee and food from your college and go ahead and meet with your professor, ask them questions about what research they do, how you might get involved, what lab they are in on campus, and kind of, again, just building those connections. So there's lots of opportunities for you out there. You have to, like I said, go to office hours, make those connections, kind of put in the work, and eventually you'll get a research opportunity. Nearly everyone I talk to at some point or another has had some sort of a research opportunity or like some sort of interaction with the professor. So that's kind of one thing that's available to undergraduates as well as like your graduate and PhD students. So that's a lot of things that kind of separate UC San Diego from a lot of schools out there. There's a lot of undergraduate research opportunities.
Yeah, and personally, I have not had a study abroad experience yet, but I would really like to. So, during COVID, like sometimes you get really bored and you have nothing to do. So, like, I just want to mention that I scrolled through every single study abroad program on the UC San Diego website one day, and there's actually a lot of information on the UC San Diego website about study abroad programs. I don't remember the exact URL, but just search up UC San Diego study abroad and you'll definitely find it. Yeah, like even though I haven't had the opportunity to go on a study abroad experience yet, it's definitely something that is worth looking into because UC San Diego has so many like interesting programs that cover such a wide range of like hobbies. Like they have stuff just for language immersion or just like culture immersion, or they have more academic internship based study abroad opportunities. So yeah, definitely take a look at that website.
And just to respond to Lauren, because I've had a study abroad experience, I went to South Africa and Zambia during the summer between my first and second year. And it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in college because I've made like a lot of my closest friends right now were the ones that I made during the trip. And not only that, it's the fact that you have your little group and you are stuck together for like 5 weeks and you experience new things together. You experience new culture, new food, new people. It's just very rewarding. And I think like I initially thought that it was weird because as international students, we are already studying abroad, but the feeling is different because with like a studying abroad program in UC San Diego, you have more people who that have the same background as you being a UC San Diego student. So it's very nice and definitely recommend studying abroad once COVID-19 hopefully has passed. And also for internships and stuff like that, I took a more passive route than what Kevin suggested because like I'm shy and like professors scare me. But I usually go on handshake.com, which is like a search engine for internship and job opportunities on campus. And that's where I got like most of my first jobs, and that helped me got a social security number and stuff like that. So it's a very helpful website. I'll put the link in the chat. But yeah.
Thank you all for sharing. We had a question about, and I know not everyone here is on a student visa, but they want to know a little bit more about like the visa process. Is there an office on campus that supports students? Like if they have questions, like Vanessa, I know you said you studied abroad and how maybe that impacts things like student visa. If anyone has an experience they'd like to share working with those, maybe with our office on campus. I'm not sure who is on a student visa, if anyone's had an experience working with that office.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm on a student visa. I'm on F1, and I would say any issues or any questions about your visa, I would go to ISPO, either email them. Usually when I was on campus, I still email them regardless, because sometimes I don't have time to just go into their office. But if you're on campus and COVID has kind of passed, you can go check out ISPO, and then they have like a really nice staff at the front office, and he's really helpful, and he helps with like processing documents or anything. And also the ISPO website for the International Student Programs and Office, it's really helpful. You can submit questions, email them. They usually get back in honestly like 1 to 2 days or less. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Are there other programs and things that ISPO offers? Like Vanessa, I think you're involved in one of the programs that's offered through our International Students and Programs Office or the International Peer Coaches, if you want to talk a little bit about what those opportunities are for international students.
Yeah, so I'm involved in a program called the International Peer Coach Program, which it helps link up first-year international students with more experienced students like myself, with the purpose to like help you transition to UC San Diego. So we would provide you academic support, we'll provide you mental health check-ins and all the resources, everything that you need in order to be successful in UC San Diego. So if you are an international student, first year or first year transfer, there will be like an interest form that would come out around September in order for you to sign up. And I personally think it's very helpful. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but well, my students think it's helpful too. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that program as well.
Thank you for highlighting that program. So one of the questions that was submitted is, could you highlight the key traits of a UC San Diego student? Does anyone have some key traits or keywords maybe that come to mind when you think of a UC San Diego student?
Like honestly, I saw that question in the Q&A and I was like, really trying to think of some key traits. And I was like, I think the really beautiful thing about UC San Diego is that like the people there, the students who attend there are so diverse. Like I couldn't pin down a certain trait. Like, they're all hardworking and they care about like their studies, but aside, like, that's just because we're like a really cool school. But other than that, I just feel like the people I've met, like I wouldn't even know how to start like putting traits on them. But yeah, I feel like UC San Diego is a welcoming place and we don't like require you to have any certain traits to join our community. So
I would say one trait, or I guess you could say descriptive characterization, I would say of a UC San Diego student is collaborative. I mentioned this in another panel, but I came into college and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be this super cutthroat environment. Everyone's going to try to climb the ladder, get to the top, be better than everybody else. And then I came here and I was like, oh, people are kind of more than willing to kind of work in groups. It's a community. People like you'll meet people in your classes and they'll form study groups, stuff like that. No one's really trying to put themselves at the top while pushing anybody else down. It's more so that everybody wants to work together to make like us great, and obviously you have your own personal goals, but it's not this super like cutthroat environment that you might have heard of, so like I said, seen from movies, or even kind of had the notion of for other universities. So that's one that I've like noticed, especially since I've gotten here.
Thank you both for sharing. So the next question, what do you think makes UC San Diego unique? Anyone have an answer to that one?
Yeah, I guess I could jump in again. I know we already talked about the college system, and I would say that's kind of one of our most unique features. Um, I honestly have found it to be so helpful. I know I kind of gave a broad overview, but for me, in Warren College, what I get to do is I'm a chemical engineering major, but our general education sequence is you get to kind of extend out a little bit into other fields. So I'm taking what is called an area study and a fine arts and humanities subsection, and then as well as a social science subsection. So like I don't like I'm a chemical engineer, right? But I've taken a history of jazz class. I've taken a sports history class. I've taken economics classes, and it's kind of like for me, it's unique. Like I don't have to take a set like a preset sequence of classes as a general education requirements. I get to morph my degree and my kind of interests around the college system. And I know Lauren and Na and Vanessa, they've all done that same thing because we're all in different colleges, and they've gotten to pick and choose what classes they want to take to really kind of combine their philosophies from the separate colleges with what they want to do from with their major and their minors or their interests. And that's kind of something that you can't do at all colleges. And I think that's one of the again driving factors that makes UC San Diego unique.
Yeah, I would second Kevin on that. I really enjoy just picking which classes, even for GE requirements. There's fine arts requirements, which I actually chose dancing. It was like an intro to dance making class, ends up being one of my favorite. Just super fun. You just go in the studio and you just move and just create movements. And I really enjoyed it. And I think just a variety of classes in all fields, I think that really makes for like a really well-rounded experience where you can just pick and choose, and the professors are really nice, the people are really just like helpful, and they're just happy to, that we're all in the same struggle, so we're just gonna get past everything together. I like the community overall, UC San Diego. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd kind of want to go back to something that was mentioned at the very beginning, which is like the location and environment, I think is really unique to UC San Diego because like the proximity, I'm from Singapore in Southeast Asia. That's where I am right now. Like I love the beach. I go all the time. So I'm really happy about like the location of UC San Diego and how close it is and how there's to Scripps Beach and Black's Beach, like in the video, really good for surfing, and um and Pacific Beach. Like there's so many, and I just love it, and the weather, everything just contributes to a really unique experience and environment at UC San Diego.
Yeah, and academic aside, so I really enjoy how socially active and aware UC San Diego is. Um, I'm in a lot of circles where we talk about social justice and having very difficult conversations that need to be had, especially during this election year, and also what it means to be an international student in U.S. politics. Those things I very appreciate about UC San Diego, about students and professors who are very willing to have those conversations with me. I've learned so much, I've grown a lot because of those conversations. So I definitely, that's one of the things I really, really enjoy going to UC San Diego.
Those were all really great perspectives. Thank you all for sharing the different things that kind of stand out to you about UC San Diego. It's really helpful. So we've had a few questions submitted about classes. So what are the classes like? Are a lot of your classes large lecture based? Are they smaller groups? Are they taught by TAs or professors? You know, kind of what's the class size like, and does that change over the time that you're at the university? So I know, Vanessa, you've been at UC San Diego for a little while. I don't know if you want to talk kind of about maybe how your classes have changed over time from when you first started your first year through now.
Yeah, I feel old, but yeah. So when I first started, I took lower division classes, which are more general classes and more introductory classes, and those tend to have about 200 students, and it is taught by professors, but you will have discussion sections that break your class into small groups of 20, 30, and those classes will be led by TAs. So it's pretty nice because you have two different sources that you can go to. You can go to your professors or you can go to your TAs. And once you progress from lower division classes, you go to upper division classes, which are slightly more intensive, slightly more major focus. And those classes would tend to be around anywhere from 20 to 60. Really depends on how popular your major is. And those classes are taught by professors, and sometimes they have TA, sometimes they don't, because it's just such a small class. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Vanessa pretty much summed it up perfectly. It's kind of like that general pyramid structure. You know, your first couple years are taking those large lecture classes that you've all seen in movies, and then as you go up up towards like the pinnacle of your degree, you get into those more and more specialized classes, less students, and then these TAs. They're oftentimes graduate students or PhD candidates, and they're handpicked by the department and professor, and they're kind of like your second line of support if maybe you're not getting something in lecture. It's all supplemental. You're not going to ever learn anything new from discussion sections, but it's your chance to kind of get that more like close knit classroom setting as opposed to just a large lecture. So there's that, and then as you go up, oftentimes professors will even have still TAs in those upper division classes. Like Vanessa said, it all depends. So that's kind of like the general trend. I would say outside of classes too, there's a lot of academic support that you have access to at UC San Diego as well. We have an office that's called Oasis. It's basically for academic support and instructional or academic assistance and instructional support. And it's where you can go if, let's say, you're struggling in class, you have extra questions, you really just want to put in the work and really truly understand a certain subject. You can go up there. They have writing tutors, they have subject specific tutors for those lower division classes, and they really can sit down with you, create a plan, and help you get access to the resources you need. We also have the teaching and learning commons with it, which is located actually in this building behind me. It's at the bottom floor of our Geisel library, and it's where you can go again for that extra resources. Oftentimes they have instructional assistants, which is basically a student who has taken the class before, and what they do is they have these small type of almost lectures. It's taught by a student, and they oftentimes are required to get a certain grade, so they know the subject material very well, so they can sit down and kind of again give you that extra boost you need to do well in a class. So not just like the classes, but you have additional resources if needed.
Great. Yeah, there are a lot of resources at UC San Diego to help support our students, you know, whether those be office hours, Oasis, the Teaching and Learning Commons, and other places where you can go to really get the support you need. So I was wondering if anyone has ever changed their major, and what does that process look like to change your major, or maybe you wanted to add a minor. What does that look like to add a minor as a UC San Diego student?
Yeah, I actually I didn't come in as a chemical engineering major. I actually came in as a biochemistry major, also a very good degree. It just I felt like it wasn't really for me. I wanted to do something a little bit different. And it is a process to go about changing your major. For me, I was switching in an uncapped to a cap major. And basically, what a cap major is, it's a major that is kind of highly impacted. We have a lot of students within that major, and it's not a guarantee that you're going to get into that major. So for me, what I had to do is I had to take a set prerequisite courses, and then once I had completed those courses, I was just a matter of quickly filling out an application. Within a matter of time, I was notified. For me, I was actually accepted into my major of choice, which was super exciting. So that just goes to show you it's not impossible, but we do say it is not guaranteed if you're switching into a cap major. If you just want to change your majors into an uncapped major, that's fine as well. All you have to do is go onto your portal. It's called a Triton link portal, and you would do so by just a couple clicks of a button. I would say you'd want to do that within like your first or second year rather than trying to do that really late in your college career. And that kind of goes with picking up a minor as well. It's super easy. All you have to do is make sure you consult a page which has all the requirements for a given minor. For me, it just had to show that I had to take, I think it was 3 extra chemistry classes. I had to list what classes those were. I had to submit the application, and within a day or two, they had notified me back that I was approved, I guess, for the minor. So it's super easy. It's definitely doable, and it's good too because oftentimes people don't really know what they want to do when they come into college. So it kind of gives them that chance to really mold themselves. You don't want to get stuck in a major you're not happy with. You want to make sure that you're making the most of your experience. So that was kind of what happened for me.
All right, so I have one last question for everybody, and it's a great question. What made you choose UC San Diego? Like, what are some aspects about the university that really stood out to you during the college selection process? So, I'd like each of you to answer the question if possible, as we kind of wrap up our panel today. So, whoever would like to go first, go ahead.
I can go first. So the reason why I chose UC San Diego is purely academic at first. It was because my major department, the International Studies department, is ranked second best out of all public universities in the US. So I was like, whoa, okay, like it'd be cool if I enroll in like second best program because I couldn't get into the first. But later on that I got into UC San Diego, and I get to feel like the ocean breeze, like the proximity to like all the naturey stuff, all the hikings. It's very rewarding. And also, like we've all mentioned, the community, the helpfulness of everyone, the friendliness of everyone. It's just make the UC San Diego experience more rewarding, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, UC San Diego was always on my radar in high school because I had some friends who were a bit older than me who went to UC San Diego and they absolutely loved it. I think what tipped me over the edge to choose UC San Diego as my university was the fact that I went on this is just me personally, like I went on a college tour that my high school offered, and UC San Diego was one stop on the tour. And actually being on campus, I just loved the environment. My tour guide was chill, like everything just clicked when I visited campus. So yeah, I think that's what made me choose UC San Diego.
Yeah, and then for me, it was also a kind of a mix between academics and location. Obviously, we're in such a beautiful city. The beach is about a 10-minute walk away. It's actually kind of close to my hometown, which was really nice. And then taking a tour as well. It was just, you got to see firsthand like how kind of the network of campus kind of all worked together. You had students just sitting out on the grass in our price center studying, and as a high school student, that's kind of like a foreign concept, like just a bunch of kind of college students just sitting together working on classes outside. And I was like, like this is definitely something I could see myself doing. And I'm fast forward 3 years later, like I actually became a tour guide myself. So it was kind of, it was a full circle. Like that was kind of one of the reasons I chose UC San Diego, was because of that tour. And then here I am now. I get to be on student panels and kind of share my experience as well. So that's kind of it's pretty cool in my opinion.
Yeah, the reason why I chose UC San Diego, the reasons are very similar to what you guys have already said. Good academics. I also knew that I kind of want to get into research, and UC San Diego it's huge on research. We have tons of labs, tons of research opportunities. We have like a hospital on campus, or two. I'm not super sure. Don't quote me on that. I think there's two. But then also what made me like, oh, okay, I want to go here is, of course, like the tour. I really like the tour of the college and like going around, and I just feel like the space is just like welcoming, and I like how they utilize each area really nicely, and Geisel is really beautiful and I really liked it. And yeah, the weather's really nice. I know that I would need to be somewhere that's warm and sunny, at least for the most part of the year, because when it gets gloomy, I get kind of sad. And I know I just want to be outdoors. I want to get active all the time, and just UC San Diego is like the perfect place to be for that. Yeah.
Thank you all so much for sharing your student experiences with us today. I think that this kind of provides a great oversight of what a student experience could be like at UC San Diego. Obviously, every student's experience is unique. I really appreciated hearing all of your different perspectives today. So thank you for being willing to share that information with our prospective students from around the world. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to move into an admissions overview. So John is going to provide us some additional information about the process of admissions at UC San Diego. Be fairly brief, but we'll also give you just some further insight into what our admissions process looks like. So John, turning it over to you.
All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for coming out and sharing your perspective. It also helps me. I talk to a lot of students every year, and hearing you talk helps me relay that message to students too. So I very much appreciate you taking your time out and joining us. For those of you who are joining us looking into UC San Diego, I'm going to go ahead and get started on a little admissions overview. So we'll start with a slide about just our campus student profile. I believe Kevin mentioned earlier, we're a very large campus, 30,800 undergraduate students. We're about 66% first year students, 34% transfers. Most of our transfers come out of the California community college system. So if you're thinking that pathway, that would be the way to go there. We're fairly even on men and women that we admit every year, and we're about 18% international. We have students from over 45 US states and 100 different countries and regions throughout the world. So we're a fairly diverse group here on campus. So. And a little bit about what we're looking for. We're looking for a broad college prep curriculum, and we know some curriculums may not have that in them overseas. So we look also in the context of the educational environment you're in. But one thing we did do in response to the COVID pandemic, you can see the college prep courses. We previously did not consider pass, no pass grading, in the admission process. But with the COVID pandemic and a lot of schools switching to that for the spring 2020 and summer 2020, we're accepting pass, no pass grading. When we look at a qualitative kind of thing, we're looking at years 10 and 11 only. And in what we call A to G courses, it's a California-centric thing that each letter stands for a different subject area. So we're just looking for a breadth of curriculum, or whatever your local curriculum happens to be. So that's what we consider grades in those years in the college prep courses. This year on the SAT or ACT exams, we're going to be test optional for fall 2020 and fall 2021, or 2022, I'm sorry. And some of the other things we look at, Academic rigor and achievement, sometimes that's going to show up in the weighted GPA, you know, the AP courses, IB courses if you're in an IB program. The UC approved honors courses are typically in the California high schools, you know, they're approved by the UC Office of the President. We're also looking at honors and awards, things you're doing outside the classroom, you know, leadership or service, clubs and organizations, life experiences you've had, any special talents and interests that you have. Academic enrichment programs, a lot of students do those over the summer, but other students may be getting involved in internships or maybe service in their communities. So the things you might be doing over your summer, we want to hear about those. And I think you heard earlier in the presentation, we really are a diverse lot, and we're not looking for any one thing out of our students. So it's not so much what you've done. We might see that you've had a collection of you know, different things you've been involved in throughout your 4 years. And sorry, my son has woken up and decided to join the conversation here. So if you hear a little bit of that, you know, he's just happy to see me. So, but anyway, it could be anything. We might see a sustained level of commitment to a couple of things across the 4 years, or certain life experiences you've had may be very impactful for you. So it's not so much what they are. We're not checking off tick boxes like it has to be 50 hours of community service or, you know, 5 leadership opportunities. He's got a little drill he's working on. Yeah. So anyway, it could be any of those things, and it's not so much what they are, but really how you articulate that story to us. You know, what those things have meant to you, how they've shaped you, how they've kind of become central to your character or who you are. And maybe you're addressing those through those personal insight questions. There's 8 of those, and you answer 4 of them. So it allows you to tailor that to fit your experiences, your background, the thing you've been involved in, the things. So again, it's not so much what you've been doing, but how you tell us that story. We don't do interviews in the UC system. We don't take letters of recommendation. So this is our one chance to get to know you through those personal insight questions. So make sure you're focusing on some of these other areas, because, you know, the UC Office of the President has approved 14 different factors, and some of those are there on the right-hand side of the screen, you know, that we can use in the admission process. So, you know, all those things go into the application. So make sure you're paying attention to those other parts of the application. And just a final note on exams, you know, being test optional, it does mean optional, and you can read the screen, maybe take a screenshot of it. But the one point I want to make is that optional does mean optional, and nobody will be required to submit an SAT or an ACT score for admissions, and applications will not be viewed negatively based on the lack of a score. Testing has always been only one of many factors we consider, and I kind of talked about that a little bit early briefly. They've been one of many factors we considered in the admission process, and that would be the case this year too. So a little bit about our international requirements. English proficiency, if you've been in a school where English is not the language of instruction, you may need to submit a TOEFL, IELTS, or the Duolingo we're accepting this year for fall 2021 only. So if you've been in a school where English is a language of instruction for 3 years, by the time you graduate, you will not need one of these. But maybe if you've transferred into an international school from a local curriculum in the local language, then you might need to submit one of these. So the benchmark is kind of 3 years in a school with English as the language of instruction. External exams, we do have space on the application to put these in there. If you're in an IB program, GCSE, I know IB is a pretty common and popular curriculum throughout Southeast Asia. You know, IGCSE followed by IB. When I worked at Dulwich in Shanghai, you know, that's the kind of curriculum we were. So there's space for these exams in the application. They come after the SAT, ACT exams, and it'll be other international exams. You can put, if you're in an A-level program, you can put those in there. If you've been in the Indian system with the standard 10, standard 12 exams. So if it's, say, the IGCSE, you can put those in there and the scores you've received. If it's IB, and of course you're taking those exams in the spring of 2021, it has a space to put those exams, and then you can put that it's planned to be taken in the spring of 2021. If you've got predicted grades, you can add those in there, and it's got a column to note that they're predicted grades. They're not required, but if you have them available by the time the application's due, you can certainly add those into the application. For either IB or A-level exams. I've seen students in the Indian system put it in for their standard 12 exams. I know there's Indian schools throughout Southeast Asia as well. So that's some of the things we'll look at on the international side of admissions. And so just a quick snapshot of our first year applications last year. We had over 100,000 applications last year. We're the second most applied to university in the country. We admitted about 38% of those. That's a little bit higher than we normally, somewhere around 33, 34% from what I recall. You can see a median GPA on a US GPA scale. That may or may not be accurate for what you're looking at. We tend to look at other curriculums within the context of that and tend not to convert them to a US GPA scale. So on that note, when you're filling out the application, we want you to put those grades in as they appear on your transcript. So if it's an IB scale, you're going to put, it has a space to put the IB scale on there. It'll be grades of 1 to 7. The IGCSE, we'll want you to put them in there as A star or A, rather than trying to convert them to what you think the US grade scale is. Put them in exactly as they're going to appear on your exam results or your transcript, statement of marks, whatever it happens to be. So there's also median test scores. If you decide to submit them, we have those because we weren't test optional last year. So we have that data. Our average TOEFL's there. So those are kind of the middle 50% there. So obviously, some below are getting in, some above are getting in. And if you think this is a selective institution, some of those ranges below that might not be our sweet spot, but those students are bringing other things to the table that we like, and we're finding in those other parts of the application. So make sure that you're filling those other parts of the application out, presenting yourself the way you want to on the application. And again, test optional for fall 2021 and 22. Our application timeline for those of you who are in your final year, August 1st, the application's open now. You get in, you start filling it out. You can't submit it until November 1st, and you have to submit it by November 30th. It closes down at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. And after that, there's no other opportunity to get that application into us. So we don't view applications in any sort of preference that they come in earlier in the month that somebody's a stronger student because they were on top of things versus something that comes in later in the month, with the caveat that you don't want to wait until November 30th to try and submit the whole thing. It's not difficult application, but it's labor intensive, I like to say. It takes a while to fill it out. You're self-reporting everything. So take advantage of that extra time to get in there and fill it out, particularly those of you who may be applying next year or the year after. It's one application for all the UC systems. You select out of the 9 undergraduate campuses, you can select one or all of them, and then you select a major for each of those campuses. So it's one application for the UC system. For us at UC San Diego, we typically come out with our decisions somewhere around mid-March. You may hear, from other UCs earlier or later, but we're usually around mid-March, where we're going to have our deposit deadline is going to be May 1st. So that gives you about a month and a half to kind of make your decision on where you're going to go. And if you want to stay connected with us, there's the admissions.ucsd.edu events. It'll tell you about upcoming events on campus. Our next really big one is going to be the Fall Showcase, November 7th. It's a Saturday. I'll be there. It'll have different sessions in it, not only from admissions, but various other student support service offices on campus. Possibly, an academic unit or two will be there. So it's a chance to get a little bit bigger picture of the campus. Our Triton talks are going on throughout the fall. You can find those on our events page. They're very well received. I've done a couple of them over the last week or so. Subscribe to email event updates there. I believe just by registering for this event, you've got on our email list. But if you want to join via the contact list there, you can do that as well. And you can explore campus on your own via our virtual tour. We're going to have some enhanced tours coming up on the week of Thanksgiving. So that the Thanksgiving holiday here in the US, I think that's the 20th through the 23rd, maybe something like that. There'll be some additional things going on with the tour. You can sign up for those. They also do live tours on other dates where our college ambassadors are going around and kind of showing you their favorite spots on campus like they would normally, just minus the hordes of people following them around. So there's lots of opportunities to take a virtual tour here on campus. And then if you want to stay connected with us, we're active on social media. It's at UCSD Admissions and hashtag Future Triton. We've got YouTube channels, a lot of those great things going on that we're getting our word out, and the activities on campus and the things our students are involved in on some of those videos. And finally, if you have any questions, we do virtual advising. You can see there, I'd take a snapshot of this screen if you can, screenshot. Admissions.ucsd.edu virtual advising. We all of submission officers, we put several hours a week on the calendar where students can connect with us one-on-one. They're typically during normal business hours here on the West Coast, but I tend to put mine on later at night, like maybe 10 o'clock through 1 a.m., maybe 2 a.m. On West Coast time in an effort to connect with students overseas. So if you see an oddball time like that, it's probably me or one of the other international admissions officers. It's a chance to talk with us one-on-one. If you've got, a lot of questions about your specific situation, it's a great opportunity to have an appointment with one of us. We also have a Q&A with admissions, a couple of those coming up. You can see the dates there if you want to register for those. If it's just a real quick question, you don't think it warrants, 20 minutes in a virtual advising session or attending one of the events, you just send us an email at info.international@ucsd.edu. We're monitoring that daily as well. So that's a good way to, some ways you can stay in contact with us and get your questions answered as we move through this application season. And with that, I want to thank you all for coming out and joining us at whatever time it may happen to be in your part of the world, and in particular our student panel, who some I see have stuck around and listened to me talk as well. We appreciate all of you coming out and joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you being here and hearing from our student panelists today. And this recording, as well as others, will be available on our YouTube channel. So like John mentioned, we recommend checking that out and getting some more information about UC San Diego, or if you want to revisit this panel again, or some of our other student panels we've had, you can do that there. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you to all of our panelists for being here today and sharing their student perspectives. And we hope that you will apply and be at Triton one day. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, stand up. You done?
Just going to kind of debrief with Lindsay real quick. All right. You have still on mic, huh?